Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the fabulous Lock and Load Show, broadcasting across the interwebs, out across the universe, simulcasting on the fabulous gun channels, and keeping you up to date on all the latest Second Amendment and any other interesting news that's fit to print. A lot of the mainstream media has been talking about the Abraham Lincoln Strike Group being deployed to the Indian Ocean near the Persian Gulf. My experience is that's generally tends to, if there was going to be an act of violence perpetrated by some nefarious country that we don't like very much, when they deploy a carrier task force, it kind of changes their mind and nothing happens other than people complain how bad America is. But that's how one of these task force groups work. They just show up and then all of a sudden people don't want to fuck with them. Kind of like the way guns work. People know you have firearms, they just aren't going to want to fuck with you. And peace is restored, enforced, and maintained that way. So let's pray for peace, because we're definitely, if you look at the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Task Group, they're prepared for anything. Okay. What other news is fit to print that's interesting before I get on to the main topic about the Rat Pack lawsuit and a few others? Let's see here. Interesting pictures, but from Maui, lost hikers were rescued at Haleakala Park. A lost pair of hikers suffering from hypothermia were rescued from Haleakala National Park late Saturday night, according to a fire official. At 8:32 p.m. Saturday, Maui County firefighters were called to assist the National Park Service in locating two missing hikers near the summit's visitor center. The crews arrived on the scene before 10 p.m. and began searching for the lost hikers who had called by cell phone requesting help. 10:45, firefighters located a male and female in their 30s, about 500 feet elevation below the visitor center. The hikers were incoherent and unable to speak, likely due to hypothermia. Firefighters immediately carried them by stretchers to an awaiting ambulance. At the time of the rescue, the temperature gauge in the rescue vehicle showed 40 degrees Fahrenheit without wind chill, and it was also raining. The weather on Saturday was windy and rainy throughout Maui County due to cold front passing through the state. So what's really sad is that if they had a campfire going, somebody would have had to issue them. The National Park Service would have had to issue them a ticket, because campfires are not allowed in this nanny state. So that's the way that goes. But they were rescued, and at least that's the good news. It is pretty high up there. That Haleakala is a massive volcanic mountain up there. And, very special place. But you don't want to go out and you don't want to disrespect Mother Nature by because it'll kill you. And 40 degrees, I guess, it may not seem that cold to you or me, but they couldn't talk. So be prepared. Also, I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is hurricane preparedness month. So I have a whole series of hurricane preps playlists for that. If you're in Hawaii, check that out. See how your stuff stacks up to mine. Maybe give some ideas for preparing for that kind of event, which we get every year. And hurricane season's coming up, and the warm water, it's going to be warm water again, which encourages the proliferation of hurricanes. So, all right. So, moving on to before I get into the last thing, before I get into the Hawaii gun lawsuits and stuff like that, she's looking at the crypto today, Ethereum shot up 10.55%, 278.83. So if you're long Ethereum, good on you. It's like mostly green. I mean, when I woke up in the morning, I wasn't looking at this. I just turned on the TV, and there was like the Dow was down 500 points pre-market futures trading, and because of some 2 tweets of Donald Trump about the Chinese backing out of some of their agreements in the secret trade talks, trying to wrap up an agreement that the Chinese will stick to. So they couldn't even stick to the pre-agreements. Anyway, by the end of the day, it had almost turned. The market had made up for those losses and pretty much turned green. So just a lot of stop losses probably got blown out. And the little guys all the little traders are roadkill when something like that happens. Anyway, there was one other thing I wanted to mention on, I haven't really done a search for the story, but there was apparently over this weekend on Saturday, China, a Chinese Bitcoin exchange, a crypto exchange called Fat BTC. I read a story that they basically had some errors in their exchange, and there was for a while, a few minutes, Bitcoin was at $30,000 a coin. I guess I slept through all that. I'm not sure it transferred over to all the other worldwide exchanges, but because exchanges don't trade on the blockchain. I mean, and so all kinds of shit been happening in China. Not just that. I mean, the whole trade agreement, their economy has problems. They're addicted to selling the United States cheap goods and getting the money for it. So if that gets cut off, they need this trade agreement to work, and they're just dealing with that. We'll see how it goes. Like Trump says, we'll see what happens. Send it to carrier task force. We'll see what happens. Right. Okay. So on to the Second Amendment stuff. 6 Second Amendment lawsuits. Hawaii Firearms Coalition. I don't know if that's related to the Firearms Policy Coalition, but similar name. They seem to be doing good work. But this whole lawsuit with the, put them on the map as far as I'm concerned with the, which one is it? The FBI, when they sued the FBI. So I'll bring up that complaint in a minute. So let's see. Here's the cases that they're involved in. Roberts versus City and County of Honolulu. HPD violating legal immigrants' rights to bear arms, now at the Ninth Circuit, over legal fees. Roberts versus Ballard, the state of Hawaii's unconstitutional ban on tasers. Roberts versus Connors, Hawaii denying legal immigrants the ability to apply for carry permits. Nobody's ever been issued one anyway. Hawaii Firearms Policy Coalition versus the FBI. I'll bring that complaint up in a minute after I read through all of them. The FBI failed to respond to a request for information regarding Hawaii's use of the wrap-back surface. Wrap-back surface is basically like a continually ongoing, never-ending background check that keeps going and going and going and never stops for eternity. Once you get on it, if you put yourself on this list, you get a background, nationwide background. It's like you're permanently on this search list looking for. I mean, I don't know how anybody in Hawaii could commit a crime in another state, and I mean they'd have to fly over there, commit a crime, get convicted, and then come back here. So it's like, most people in Hawaii live in Hawaii. I mean, so the whole law is just dumb, but there's the possibility that they just collected the money and never actually got anybody put into the system. Okay, Young versus Hawaii, the Hawaii Firearms Coalition submitted an amicus brief on this case to demonstrate Hawaii's need for permits to be issued. We don't need no sticking permits. We have a Second Amendment, right? Why can't we just be like Arizona? Right? Tedder versus Connors. supporting this legal fight to overturn Hawaii's unconditional ban on the possession of butterfly knives. I know they used they had a butterfly knife, one of the characters in Red Dawn. I have a butterfly bottle opener. I don't have a butterfly knife, but I have the same thing, except it's a bottle opener instead of a knife. So it's cool. My regular bottle opener, I mean, you don't have to flick it around and stuff. So but they both work. It's just Hawaii is banned, like a lot of left-wing states. They're just banned crazy. So I'm going to put up. First, I'll go to the story on the gun rights. Local gun rights group sues FBI over wrap-back database information. Filed suit in the D.C. District Court seeking information regarding Hawaii's use of the FBI wrap-back service for gun owners. Local gun rights groups attempt to seek clarification from the state of Hawaii's use of the FBI wrap-back service submitted in the Freedom of Information Act request seeking documents under the control of the FBI. The FBI failed to respond to the request in the legally allotted time. In 2016, Governor Ige signed SB 2954 into law. The law authorizes people who register firearms to be entered into FBI's wrap-back service database, which is why I haven't bought a firearm since he signed this law, by the way, because I don't want to be registered in this database. And apparently, well, I guess we're just trying to find out if they actually registered people or just took the money and did nothing. In which case, they're perpetrating in like an illegal poll tax. You're not allowed to charge tax people for exercising their constitutional rights, like voting or Second Amendment rights. So, but that's what they're doing. People who register firearms in this county where they live will have their fingerprints retained and entered into the wrap-back service. Per the FBI, quote, the wrap-back service allows authorized agencies to receive notification of activity on individuals who hold positions of trust, school teachers, daycare workers, or who are under criminal justice supervision or investigation, thus eliminating the need for repeated background checks on a person from the same applicant agency. Okay, but we're like just regular law-abiding gun owners don't fall into any of those categories, and it's basically that whole law that he signed is a violation of the Federal Firearms Owners Protection Act, 1986. Fingerprints enrolled in the wrap-back service are continually searched by and against criminal, including latent and non-criminal justice fingerprints subsequently submitted to the NGI. I'm not sure what that is, but National Government something. I don't know. It was brought to the HFC's attention during this year, the legislation that not one single firearms owner has been entered into the service. So they're collecting like $42 or whatever from every time you want to register a gun, but they didn't, or when you buy a new gun. And ever since they passed this law, and they've collected the money, but nobody's been entered into the service. However, for more than 2 years, the state has been requiring firearm owners to sign a waiver of their constitutional rights and collect the fee associated with the wrap-back service. Well, I mean, I think you would think they would be happy not to be in the wrap-back service and just want their fucking money back. Because like every other thing in Hawaii, it's just tax. It's just the government's broke and needs to steal money from people. Hawaii Firearm Coalition is seeking clarification from the FBI over the state's attempted use of the service. To do so, they requested copies of all communications and policies shared between the state and the FBI regarding the wrap-back and the state's use of it for firearms owners. Additionally, they requested copies of any and all receipts for payments from the state to the FBI in relation to the firearms and wrap-back service. Federal law requires that the FBI respond to all FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests within 20 days of submission. The FBI has, in this case, failed to respond. This on behalf of HFC. some attorney whose name I can't pronounce filed suit against the FBI and the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. HFC hoping to show Hawaii's attempted use of the RAP-Back service for firearm owners. 1, violates the FBI's policy regarding the RAP-Back service. 2, violates federal law. I assume they mean the 1986 Firearm Owners Protection Act. 3, infringed on the constitutional rights of the firearm owners. And 4, the FBI is denying the state's use of the RAP-Back service due to these attempted violations. Let's see. The state of Hawaii needs to stop treating the Second Amendment like a second-class right and start treating those that own or wish to own firearms as the law-abiding people that they are. Hawaii Firearm Coalition Organization, founded to protect and unify Hawaii firearm owners and those who believe in the constitutional right to keep their arms. So I'm going to put up the complaint here. Suing the FBI at the J. Edgar Hoover Building, Pennsylvania Avenue, North NW, Washington, D.C. Jurisdiction, the parties, statement of facts. On April 2nd, plaintiff transmitted FOIA requests to the defendant, FBI. Here's all the information that they sought. The link to this complaint is in the this video's description. Let's see. Any and all records, but including but not limited to documents, communications, email, letters, official requests, and correspondence from the FBI or any sub-agency to the state of Hawaii or any representative of the state of Hawaii related to the RAP-Back owners, firearms, possessors, registration of firearm owners in the RAP-Back system in the state of Hawaii. Any and all documents and records. They wanted the fee waived. So they're charging the FBI with unlawfully withholding the records requested. And let's see. All right, well, there's the name of the lawyer. Here's the Freedom of Information Act request that they originally submitted. So when they did, an FBI just ignored it, then they sued them. I would be hopeful that this leads to the end of the RAP-Back. The RAP-Back is why I stopped buying firearms, which was, I'm sure, the intended outcome of them passing this law. I mean, I'm not willing to pay the sheriff. The sheriff wants me to pay $42 just for exercising my Second Amendment rights. 1, I don't want to be put on the RAP-Back list. And 2, if he wants my $42 to show up at the local gun shop, bend over, and kiss his own ass. I mean, that might be worth $42, but this shit. I wish this organization best of luck in court. Although I've often said that the freedom really lies within the people, not within the courts. But nevertheless, seems like a worthwhile lawsuit. Here's something about the RAP-Back list from the FBI.gov website. Description of the service. Non-criminal justice RAP-Back. It's just, I mean, who would, in their right mind, would agree to just, I mean, have your name put into a continuous government search until the end of time? I mean, it would be really funny if, like, they actually did this, and after somebody died, something popped up. Because it took some government in some state that long to do the data entry on whatever violation they dug up. But it's just an endless, and it's like an endless Nick search that just keeps going and going and going. So it's just I'm not going to sign up to be put on any of this list, and I kind of have the guns I need, and don't really need them more, but I wouldn't mind buying. There's always, I mean, it's like I remember somebody in Scotland saying that he was feeling depressed, and I said, well, what you should do if you were in America is you go down to the local gun shop, buy a new gun, take it home, take out the gun, and you'll be happy. Just bang, your depression is cured. But you get a new gun smell or whatever. But Scotland, Britain has, the UK have all their own problems, and it's just a pretty dumb law. That I remember the governor asked the attorney general, "Are you sure this law is okay?" His attorney general reported said, "Oh yeah, this is fine. Go ahead, and sign it." Said, okay. And so, well, we'll see what happens. But they can pass dumb laws faster than the judicial system can correct this shit. So it's just, freedom really does depend on a free people's desire to be free. Because they will tell you that they're going to control you. They're going to tell you you will never be free. You're evil for owning a gun. You're never going to be free to own a gun or keep the gun that you have. But it's a lie. You are free, at least in this country. And it's just, I guess all we can do is support groups like this and their but it's like a never-ending battle. I mean, it's like the next check for a rat back list could go on forever, but this battle is going to go on forever. It seems like to the end of time, arguing over the Second Amendment. And I understand it can get frustrating, but I guess you just have to keep fighting, like the Terminator said, right? I want to see if any of my panelists showed up. Oklahoma was recovering from taking his pre-operation medicine. So see how you're feeling.
Oh yeah, it's very annoying, to say the least.
All right, you don't need to gross everyone out with the details.
Yeah, I'm not. I just, that's, to say the least, it's very annoying. Real quick though, I just want to let everybody know that may not know by now that I am, aside from being cut open, I am having surgery tomorrow. Technically, they are putting me under. I'm having a procedure to basically check and see if I have any ulcers in my stomach, and due to the high risk of colon cancer in my family, I'm going to be undergoing another scope of some sort. I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm pretty sure you guys can figure it out on your own. How many have you ever seen Hawaii? Have you ever seen the movie 28 Days Later?
I've heard people talk about it, but no, I don't think I've seen it.
The opening scene, he wakes up in a hospital that's abandoned. Have you seen the first episode of Walking Dead?
No, I'm really not into The Walking Dead.
He wakes up in a hospital that's abandoned.
Well, I think they got this. These science fiction shows got this from a novel, a Roger Zelazny novel, where the character wakes up in a mental institution, and as he wakes up, it begins with the protagonist wakes up in a mental institution in a straitjacket.
That's gotta suck.
And he doesn't remember anything, including who he is. So.
But yeah, that being said, you guys can imagine what I'm doing right now. I'm getting my get home bag put together right now. Which this is, well, I say I'm getting it put together. I hardly ever have clothes in it. It's actually my get home bag is my bug out bag. It's a large Alice pack, a large military Alice pack, and this is actually the one I'm loading up right now is a Highland Tactical. It's the Major. I've done a review on that. If you guys are interested, check it out. Actually, I did a first look at it. I haven't done a review. Um,
What was the name again?
the Highland Tactical, the specific model, I guess you'd call it, would be the Major. It is a military style backpack. I mean, it's OD green, or actually, I can't tell if it's a desert or OD, but it's a pretty nice little backpack.
Did you
But
put a video of that out yet, or?
I, yeah, I did it not too long after I got it. It's there on my channel if anybody's interested. Uh, I'm pretty sure that I've got links somewhere on his channel. Uh, but anyways, I'm filling that up with. It's already got my homemade MREs, which you guys remember I made a video on them. It's got some survival stuff, some essential stuff, and I am going to be going in, uh, of course, fully dressed like any normal human being. But I do have some. If I do have to stay there more than a few hours, more than a day, I've got some overnight clothes there. I also have a couple extra changes of clothes, jeans, shirts, stuff like that, socks. I will
Underwear.
be, yeah, I've got underwear. I almost forgot it,
They're going to
but
put
I
you
had
in a
to.
hospital gown. They're going to put you in a hospital gown, obviously.
Yeah, but of course, you know, when I get out of surgery, they'll take the gown away and make me wear normal clothes, like they did last time. But
Okay.
well, actually, for walking around, so I've got my jammies in there. Uh, but yeah, I've got if I wake up in tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon or whatever, whenever I wake up, if the hospital's abandoned, I can get home safely. I've got my power banks charging in case electrical systems still work and my cell phone still works. I've got um, my radio batteries, one radio battery on the charger. I only have one charger, but I have a spare battery for my radio. Um, it's on the charger. My other one's on the radio. I better make sure it's off so I don't drain the battery unnecessarily. Yeah, it's off. But I'm going to put it on the charger as well. Uh, so essentially, if I wake up to an abandoned hospital, um, I do have I guess you could say I have a policy in place as to what's going to happen. I'm going to wake up and my bug out bag or my get home bag should be right next to me. And I will be, I'll be set. I hope it doesn't have to come to that, but just in case it does, I will. Of course, I've got knives, other personal protection items that I may need. We're going to a hospital, so I won't go into too much detail. Um,
You
but
go in with an AR and
not necessarily an AR, but just some uh, concealable personal protection items.
Okay, I was just gonna say that the novel I was referring to was the Amber series, Roger
Oh,
Celeste.
the small pistol style.
When the Amber series was the nine, I think the first one was Nine Princes in Amber. It's a story basically about. That one would be harder to do than Lord of the Rings in a movie. Basically, it's about a family of people that can kind of shift through uh, dimensions,
Interesting.
and by traveling. I mean, he like in one book, he gets in a car and he's driving on a highway, and their realities are changing. I mean, it's like they're driving from one world to the next. And there's just some really, it won a Hugo and Nebula Award for that whole series, the Roger Zelazny series. And I remember the scene I recall the most, although if I try to quote it, I'll get it wrong, is when the protagonist runs into a sphinx in the desert of Egypt, and Sphinx is always asking a question. If you don't get the answer right, they eat you. So, but he turned the thing around, and he explained to the Sphinx why his question had more than one answer, and so the Sphinx says, well, according to the rules of the riddle game, you have to ask me a question, and now I have to get the answer. So he didn't. So the protagonist is like, I don't want to ask you a question. This is dumb. So he asks him a question, and the Sphinx can't figure it out, and it's a brilliant little but ancient. I mean, this was I think when I went to college, it was in the reading, but I would have read it anyway because it was so cool. It's such a cool series. You could probably buy it off Amazon, used copies of it, but anyway. It's and when you said waking up in a hospital and that's where everybody gets that from, is that science fiction book.
Yeah, every it seems like every zombie movie starts out with waking up in the hospital. It's a little monotonous, but interesting to say the least.
Right. Well, hopefully that won't happen, and you'll wake up and there'll be people there telling you that everything went okay and you're cured, and it'll just take a certain amount of days for the pain to subside.
Right.
So I on the subject of bags, I got something. You anything else you want to say?
Good. Oh no, I was gonna say I think I got everything, but you know, there's always room for more preps. It's always one big thing to remember. Just when you think you've got it all, there's always something out there that is useful.
A flask full of vodka. They said you can bring vodka.
There you go.
They said, hey, you said clear liquids.
Yeah. I'm on a clear liquid diet. I haven't had anything to eat all day, and I'm starving.
Wow. Okay, I'll talk about this backpack issue that came up. You were in the military, right, Oklahoma?
Negative, sir.
Negative? Okay, that was just squib. So, I had done in 2015 a review of my Camelback Mule bag, hydration bag, and it's a small backpack with a full-size hydration bladder. And the review I did was I was basically went running. I wanted to see how I did with it, running and gunning on the range all day, and then just test out the hydration bag and the Camelback bladder and everything. And it worked fine, but so Corsair Trainers had done a review on a belt, one of those war belt deals, and I remembered exactly what happened to me because when I did my test, I had an IFAK on my belt, and my IFAK was in this very back of my back, small of my back, and so the Camelback has some like a quick release shoulder strap attachment devices, so you can like just press the quick release the sides of the quick release buckle, and the straps just come off and it falls to the ground. The problem I had was that the Camelback has a waist belt like strap on the bottom. So if you're in the field and you need to be quiet, you don't want the backpack bouncing around while you're moving to alert the enemies or something because you're making too much noise. It's got a waist belt. So what happened is I did the quick release on the shoulder straps. The shoulder straps come off and the backpack falls down just like it's supposed to, except now the waist strap is caught on the IFAK. And so it's hanging from my butt down, upside down, the backpack. So my left hand has the AK because I was shooting the AK on the range that day, and my right hand is reaching around my back trying to get the belt from the Camelback Mule off out, and it's just like the most stupid position for be in. And I had to try and move my whole belt around to get to my IFAC so I could, because I couldn't just reach all the way to the small of my back and get wherever, because it's a kind of a thin little wraparound strap that's and because it's a lightweight pack, and it's a great little pack. But the whole point that I tried to make, which I don't know if I succeeded when I was commenting on, because of course there trainers did a video on a war belt, and I was saying, I really don't like putting stuff on belts anymore, and I'd rather just either have a backpack or a war belt, but not both. And I wasn't trying to hassle them. It's just that I remembered the damn Camelback Mule hanging down. This wasn't in my video, but it was hanging down when I hit the quick release straps. It was hanging down on the back. So. And he said, well, when I was in the military, we used Alice, and they didn't have that. Well, I did. I don't have an Alice pack, and I guess Alice packs don't have waist belts or need waist belts to secure them or something, but the Camelback does. And so it was just it was a fail as far as me not knowing. I mean, this is why you do field tests, to figure out what the problems are, so you know what not to do in a real life situation. I'm not going to ever put an IFAC on the back of my belt, and where I'm wearing a Camelback Mule again, because I know if I need to do a quick release of the backpack, it'll just get caught and be hanging upside down off of my butt. And they're held by a really thin strap that you can't really get to very easily. I mean, I eventually got it off, but nobody was shooting at me or anything. So, it's good to field test out all your gear. Take it out, go running and gunning, and so I never had an Alice set up. I won a Rush 24 bag from which I used for my bug out bag off of YouTube. So the price was right, and it's a damn good bag. But it had so much stuff in it that I just wanted a day mission bag, with a hydration bladder. And so I field tested it and at the range, and so my thought is, besides field testing all your gear under running and gunning at least conditions, is important. Definitely don't, if you have a backpack with a waist strap, don't put stuff on your belt that's going to just catch the waist strap if you try and take it off, because you'll look like an idiot when you try and take it off, and all that stuff on your belt just catches it. So it was just, if that one incident hadn't stuck out in my mind so clearly when I was watching that belt review, I wouldn't have said anything at all except nice belt. But it was one of those, okay, I field tested this, I know what not to do, because it screwed me up when I field tested it, and situations. So, but that's what you get for field testing is you learn stuff. And so if you have a backpack that has a waist strap around it, either don't use the waist strap if you can get away with it, or don't put anything on your belt. That especially where you can't get to it, because if you do, because when I hit the quick release, everything just caught on my IFAC. It was just. It was a stupid position to be in. I'm glad I wasn't in combat when I tried to do that, is all I can say. All right. I wanted to say hi to the people in the external really quick. Squibb hasn't said anything, which is unusual for him.
Yeah, I know. I've been worried about him.
Are you on this?
Maybe
I heard something.
Yeah, I heard something there.
He unmuted his mic for a second. He let us know he's still alive.
Okay, somebody doesn't like Camelbacks because of the plasticky tasting water. Well, I've got a canteen that I could put on my belt.
Somebody didn't grow up drinking out of a water hose.
uh, well, it basically, my understanding is that people carry canteens. It's just that when you're hiking around all day, having the thing on your shoulder is having just the water tube on your shoulder is more convenient. And so if you have a can, basically people are supposed to carry their can if they have a canteen and then just put the water in their hydration bladder. I didn't experience any plasticky taste myself from my Camelback at all, but I do clean it out after I use it. So, and I don't leave it out in the sun all day. So it may not be like field tested like in the desert or something. I don't know what happens to it if you leave it in the desert in the sun all day. Basically, I take it
It'll
out.
probably melt.
Maybe I don't know. I didn't experience any plasticky taste myself. So let's see. Who's being polite and kind? General relativity. Okay. I like the Camelback myself. It was just I needed to know not to have anything that could catch that the wet waist strap was going to catch on when I took it when I hit the quick release shoulder straps.
They're pretty handy to have. I like them.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, well, hydration bladders are a pretty standard thing nowadays in the military. I thought. I mean, maybe not.
Yeah, as far as I know, I mean everybody that I've seen, everybody that I know in the military, they've all got them.
Okay. So anyway, that was what came up with that. I don't have any problem with the hydration bladders myself. I've got one in the Rush 24 bag, and I've got one in the Camelback Mule. And I basically, if you don't use like I used to when I used to do a lot of bicycling, which I know Squib hates bicycles, but I tried to pick. I mean, sometimes you would get plasticky water. I would basically fill up with like some kind of spring water, the bottled water, the bicycle bottles, and put them in the freezer overnight, and then put them on my bicycle so it would be cold. Because it would obviously melt if you start bicycling around in the heat, and but it would still be cold when you got around to needing to drink the water. But depending on some bottles tasted plasticky and some didn't. I know the Spectre containers I have are BPA free, and so that probably won't be a problem with that. I suspect pick your water bottles carefully. Canteens are obviously metal canteens have their advantages, but they have their disadvantages. It's just really nice to be able to have it on a on your shoulder strap, the hydration tube. But are you drinking your green tea, dude?
I finished it. I finally finished it.
Oh,
A gallon in 6 hours.
a gallon in 6 hours. Wow.
Yeah. I had to for those of you I'm not gonna like I said, I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but I have a prescription for a bottle of pretty much Miralax. It's a polyethylene glycol. It's the powder version, and they said to mix the entire bottle with a gallon of water. They said I could substitute something because the flavor would be horrible. but in their stipulations, let me
They didn't
pull
even
out
give you.
my
They
orders.
didn't give you capsules. They didn't give you like veggie caps or anything like
Oh
that.
no, I had no. I had to take this whole bottle. This is 2 weeks. For those of you that don't know, Miralax is one uh, dose per day, and this is 14 ounce, 14 daily doses. So this is 2 weeks of Miralax I had to take tonight. Um, and as far as my clear liquid diet, plain water, fruit juices without the pulp, such as apple juice, no red or purple juices because I have to have clear, strained lemonade, clear broth or bouillon, carbonated beverages, tea, coffee without milk or cream, and clear soda, plain gelatin or jello, and ice pops without fruit.
I'm so
So
glad I'm not in a hospital, man. It just
I know the and for I'm going to skip part one, but part two for the day before, which is today, at approximately 2 p.m., mix the entire bottle of Miralax powder in a gallon container of water or other clear liquid. Shake well, and I have to drink this all today, which I did. Um, so just to clarify that I did not misread the instructions, it does in fact say drink the whole bottle uh, or consume the whole bottle today. So I did. And then again at 3 a.m. I have to drink a bottle of magnesium citrate. So
you have an alarm clock to wake you up at 3 a.m. or
I do, and again at 6 so that I can get up and go to my operation or my procedure. Um, so yeah, it is. I'm starving. I have not had anything to eat all day except for a couple of little Jello cups. Um,
well, after
and
you wake up in the hospital, the hospital food will cure you of being hungry.
oh, yeah, I know it will. Yeah, you're right. Uh, man, I've had their food before. It's I don't know what they call it, but to me, it wasn't food. It was absolutely bland. I mean, it's the epitome of hospital food. Um, it was horrible. Now, there's some other hospitals that I've been to that their food is like amazing. Order from a restaurant style, amazing. Um, and most hospitals are doing that these days. Uh, but they're pretty much restaurants within hospitals. But
I mean, the
yeah,
food at
definitely not.
Queens wasn't terrible. Some of the food at the Recovery Hospital Pacific was actually pretty decent. Uh, but I was in too much pain to notice really at the time or care that much. I mean, I remember the first day because getting up out of bed and walking to the public eating area at the Recovery Hospital Pacific, that was like a journey for me. Just be able to get to the table was a thing. and and I mean they'd bring it to you in bed if you wanted, but just getting up and having to sit down at a table with other people and not having to just do everything from your hospital bed uh, was the thing. Um, so I imagine that the happiest moment you'll have is when you get out of the hospital.
If there's still power and there's still people around that are not zombies, then yes, I will be fine.
All right. Yeah, yeah. I hope. I don't think we'll have a zombie attack by tomorrow. So, I mean, I think that there's a new Walking Dead show coming out, but that's about as close as you're going to get.
I haven't even watched that show probably since last year. I finished the season on Netflix. I'll have to check again, see if this new seasons or this last season is out on it.
Well, yeah,
But
Squib said he was watching one of my old favorite AMC shows. I don't know if he's still watching it. Hell on Wheels.
yeah, I've been watching it.
Oh, you've been watching Hell on Wheels?
Yeah, after we talked about it, I had that big discussion about it a few months ago.
Okay.
I've been watching it. It's a really good show. I haven't gotten all the way through it yet. I'm probably first, I don't know, 10 or 15 episodes in, probably.
Okay,
I don't know how many episodes are in there. I can't remember. I'll have to
the
start it back.
The first 1 or 2 seasons were the best anyway.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting show. I like that one. There's a lot of guns in that one. But let's see. Yeah, 2 canteens, not my ideal. I mean, I prefer. Like having everything on a light backpack is nice. The one thing I did like, I noticed about the Camelback Mule that was weird was when I first put it on, I thought these shoulder straps have no padding. It's terrible. So I bought extra padding, and then I realized when I went out in the field that okay, the reason they have no padding is because you need to form a shoulder weld with your buttstock of your rifle against your shoulder to shoot your rifle, and that's why they have no padding on. But so you learn stuff as you field test it, and then obviously you want the hydration tube on a different side. On if you shoot with your right shoulder, you want the hydration tube on the left side. Otherwise, that'll also prevent you from forming a shoulder weld. So I basically went out on my to the range on my field test, and I did everything like wrong. It was set up wrong. And then by the end of the day, I figured out how to set it up right, which is like what you're supposed to do. So you just watch my video, and I can tell you everything that you're not supposed to do. But because I made all those mistakes on a test, and so if I ever need it in real life, hopefully I never am required to go into combat unless like China invades Hawaii or the Russians invade Hawaii. In which case, I will use the opportunity to collect a lot of free full auto battlefield pickup trophies. I'll just snipe the invading army and steal their full auto stuff. I mean, I don't think the police department is going to be, hey, you have to register that, don't you? Don't you know? If there's enemy soldiers on the beach, but they'll probably be all 200 of the police officers will be busy. Let's see what else has been going on. Boy, I wish we could get Squib to talk.
Yeah, there's a couple of non-prepping things I want to talk to him about that he might be interested in.
Well, I saw his NRA video. I thought that was pretty interesting. In fact, because they don't have NRA shows in Hawaii, so.
Of course not.
The gun laws suck, and it's too far for everybody else to travel. Let's see. So, I don't know. Everybody else in the military uses an Alice kind of setup, and I never have. So it's not on my. I mean, if I had to carry a ton of shit, I probably would want an Alice pack with a frame, but I try and keep my load as light as I can. I mean, my bug out bag with a full load is like 40 pounds. And I don't think that's too much because soldiers in World War II carried like 100 pounds. So the Camelback Mule is really, really light compared to that. It's like less than half. So, if what I liked about it is just a convenient way to carry water, um, uh, and hike around, and it's very light. So I just try to pack what I absolutely need and nothing extra in it. Anyway, not too much else. I did take my Recondo jungle assault boots out for just a walk, and they were fine. It's the person that was in them that needed some few improvements, but yeah, that's I guess the way it is. You got to wear the right socks with it. I think next time I'm gonna use my Darn Tough socks, and I haven't really been doing too much. I noticed that my friend in Scotland has been doing all deep web shows, and he's like stopped doing his bushcraft shows entirely. So kind of think that sucks, but he seems to be making a lot of money off of YouTube nowadays doing that. So good luck with that. I miss the bushcraft shows that he used to do. Anyway, let's see. Haven't really been doing too much lately. Went down to Jamake's fish market bar and grill, I guess, for dinner a couple nights ago. It's a really nice place, good food, and nice little bar. Not too much been going on. So this is where the point where Squid was supposed to come in and say something. Because I'm running out of stuff to talk about, dude.
I got a couple of things I could talk about just to pass the time.
Shoot.
For those of you who have not been, those of you who don't watch my channel, I've got a garden coming. I've got a garden going on. I went out today. I went to town today and got some more plants. I got 6 more jalapenos, habaneros, and cherry tomatoes. And I thought it was a hell of a deal. I got 3 6-packs. Those 3 6-packs for $9.
I so wish I had a garden space like you have, but I'm in a condo. That's one of the sacrifices I make. I have a pool, in-ground pool. No garden space.
But yeah, I've got about 100. I'd say probably 70 plants probably started. Well, 70. Let's see. I probably got about 100 started right now that I haven't planted in the ground. I bought. Let's see. I bought the. Let's see. 2, 4, 6 tomatoes. 2 beefsteak, 2 beef master, 2 cherry, or some kind of cherry tomato, and 2 Cherokee purples, which are the purple heirloom tomatoes. And then I've got a habanero and a jalapeno in the ground. And then I've got, I think 1 or 2 bunches of onions.
So the nice thing about the heirloom tomatoes, if I understand it correctly, is that you can grow more tomatoes from the seeds, right?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they're hybrids, which I don't think they are. But as long as a vegetable is not a hybrid, or any fruit or vegetable is not a hybrid, then you should be able to grow from it anyway. So
I wouldn't know. I'm not that much into it, but I thought that was the whole thing about for preppers for heirloom seeds or plants. Is that if you let them go to seed, you could use the seeds to plant but we need somebody who's like farming to tell us these things, like Dusty.
Right. As far as I know, as long as they're not, I mean, I know, like potatoes, like some of the potatoes you get at the store, the grocery store, you can't plant them and restart them because they're hybrids to make them bigger, and they won't. They'll grow a stalk and produce leaves and all that stuff. It'll be a big potato plant, but it will never produce any potatoes. Um, so um, that's why you have to buy seed potatoes, and that's why seed potatoes are so much smaller. They're like probably like not much bigger than those. Oh, what are they called? Those little round ones you put in for beef stews or whatever,
Russet.
or pot roast.
Um,
I think so.
Russet.
I think russets, but
I used
yeah,
when I had my studio in Burbank, I used to go to this jazz club called the Baked Potato, and they had all they had in the menu was baked potatoes prepared different kinds of ways, and but they all the potatoes were Burbank potatoes, which were these huge fucking potatoes. I mean, they were just ginormous. So if you
yeah,
ordered a baked potato with stuff on it, I mean, that was like a full meal. And so I would always go. It was like a jazz club, and it's been there forever. And so I'd always go have like a martini and order one of their baked potatoes, because just listen after editing dialogue all day, listening to jazz wasn't diversion for my ears.
and it wasn't. I just recently found this out because I remember we talked about it on another episode, and shortly after that, I tried to make some. Of course, they weren't as they probably weren't as good, but it wasn't. I mean, it was a jazz club, of course, but it was also they actually held concerts there. Correct?
Baked potato, yeah, the baked potato.
Yeah.
It was like a jazz. It's a little music club / bar that's been there forever on Lancashire, and Lancashire and Verdugo. I forget, something like that. It's in North Hollywood. I mean, it's right off the Ventura Freeway, right before it goes south into Hollywood, and a lot of the best jazz musicians play there, and a lot of the best musicians. I'm trying to remember. I think I saw Mark Isham there once. That was like the best concert I ever saw there. They were like, he was just off the walls. I mean, he had this. He in his drum machine, they had some samples from some dialogue from like some old science fiction movie, and he set them all up in a drum pattern and then like a rhythm pattern, and the drummer was playing along, and he was playing his trumpet or whatever, and it was just flipping awesome. And yeah, he's like a film composer, Mark Isham. Check out some of his stuff. Probably catch some of his music on YouTube somewhere. But yeah, if you like live music, I mean, I didn't really like the people that ran the place, but the musicians there were fucking awesome. So, because it's been there forever. It was like an institution almost.
Another thing, completely off topic, back prepping, I guess. I did pick up a welder from Harbor Freight.
A lighter.
A welder.
A welder. Okay.
It's a gasless MIG or a flux core welder. I've been playing with it a little bit, not too much, just run a couple of beads here and there. I'll probably be putting a video on it later on, but just kind of kill some time. It's not a bad welder if you're just starting out. If anybody's interested, or even just having a cheap welder to do little quick fixes, or
What brand is
make
it?
some. It is Chicago Electric, of course. It's from Harbor Freight, so I got their little $100 welder. Got it with a coupon that I get in the mail with the magazine. Um, it's pretty good, pretty decent little welder. With From what I understand, on some of the YouTube videos I've seen, not YouTube videos, but some of the people I've talked to, they said that it's best to use with some name brand like Lincoln or Hobart wire uh, to get the best results. And so far, even the wire that comes with it is not bad. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't call it junk, but it's not. Uh, I've welded better, but of course, this is my first time to weld with a flux core welder. Um, so it's a learning experience for me. There's a lot more splatters, a lot more smoke, and it's a lot less heat. So it's interesting. It's just simple. You plug it into your any wall outlet with a 20 amp breaker. Um, so you don't have to have a 220. You can just use a normal 120 or 110, whatever you want to call it. And plug it into your wall outlet and go. It's pretty decent little thing to have. If, like I said, if you want to do some quick fixes on something, or make your own little project that doesn't require a lot of heavy welding. And for those of you that may know what I'm talking about, once you go MIG, if you're a stick welder and you go to a MIG welder, that thing will spoil you. So and I've actually seen, I've heard of people doing some pretty good, pretty heavy duty projects on a small, cheap flux core welder from Harbor Freight. So I'm really excited to get some more metal in and see what I can build with it.
The closest thing I have to that is the solder gun. So
It's the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing. It's the same concept, just a lot more heat and a lot bigger projects.
yeah, I think I might make a video of like how to start a campfire with a solder gun.
There you go. I don't think that'd be too difficult.
Nobody's ever done it either.
You know
Yeah.
what? I'd definitely love to see that.
Okay, I'll see what if I can set up. Find a place where I could do a campfire and burn anything down, but I'll need some way to get electricity up there to run the solder gun. But
Yeah.
all right, that sounds like it'll be a fun video project.
Yeah, I'll start it out. I'll probably start out with a little bit of a. I don't know if I want to do a review or start out with the project video, or we'll see. We'll just kind of play around and see.
Oh, Vanessa says she has titanium sporks. Yeah, I have a titanium spork. I field tested it on green tea ice cream to make sure it worked. I have a video about that. Yeah, titanium sporks are cool.
I have plastic forks.
Forks or sporks?
Forks.
Wow.
I need to get me. I actually do have some like just plastic cutlery, but I do have some heavy duty plastic sporks that I got with my little Walmart. I think it's called Ozark Trails little mess kit that I have. Just something I got it. I had to get it really quick to get me through the Oklahoma YouTubers meetup, and it's a pretty decent little kit. It's a lot of you can't really. I really wouldn't recommend it for long-term use because after a couple of cooks in it, it starts to get rusty on the inside, and it's obviously not ideal.
So what are you gonna solder with your? I mean, not solder. What are you gonna weld with your welder?
I've got a couple of pretty decent projects that I'm going to work on. The first thing is I do a lot of lawn care. when I can. Of course, my back gives me a lot of problems, but I, I, I'm going to be building a little lawnmower trailer, not to haul my lawnmowers with, but one to pull behind my lawnmower, my little rod lawnmower. That way, if I come across any rocks or any trash or anything, I've got a little hand grabber. I can reach down, toss it over my shoulder, and uh, pick up trash like that, as well as carry my fuel. Because of course, those little lawn tractors don't have gas gauges on them. And while we're on the subject of lawn tractors, I'm going to be building a small, very small plow with my welder, something similar to the box blade that I had on my on that tractor, my sister's tractor that I borrowed, without the blade, just the rippers, and try to make a little pull behind plow with that thing. I know my little Craftsman lawnmower ain't designed for a job like that, but it's a couple of days out of the year, maybe 2 days out of the year, so I don't think it'll be too hard on my transmission to pull a little ground ripper, a couple hours out of the year. So those are going to be for sure some projects that I'm going to be working on. Also, my brother-in-law, his trailer that I use to take my lawn equipment back and forth to some of the jobs. He wants to cut the rails or the side rails and drop them down about 4 or 5 inches to make it a little shorter. It's pretty well overkill for what it is, and I specifically bought the welder for that. And of course, I've got other projects that I'll be using it for. So
I think Wesley's World, the guy who runs the gun shop here, he on his channel, his video is about doing a lot of excavation on his farm with his gear, and he just had to weld the ripper back onto his miniature Komatsu because it broke. So I think he just put out a video on that. I haven't looked at it yet. I just saw the title, and he said he was going to put out a video welding it back together. So
real quick, I hate to cut short, but for some reason at 11:30 at night, somebody just pulled up.
Okay.
So I don't know who it is, but let me go check.
Deal with it. I'll you go deal with it. I'll be here.
All right. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. Have a good night, everyone.
I'm going to try and get Squid to talk by playing this sound here.
Clicks.
There you go.
Who gives a shit about clicks? Who the fuck is this?
All right. Let's see if that wakes him up. Let's see. I don't know if I've completely lost everything. I think I covered everything pretty much that I really wanted to talk about. I'll go back to the just the 6 Second Amendment lawsuits really quick here. Press the right button. I could hit the screen share. There it is. Application window. So if you tuned in late, basically I talked about the wrap back lawsuit against the FBI by the Hawaii Firearms Coalition, and these are the lawsuits they have. Roberts versus the City and County of Honolulu, HPD violating legal immigrants' rights to bear arms, now at the Ninth Circuit over legal fees. Roberts versus Ballard, State of Hawaii's unconstitutional ban on tasers. Roberts versus Connor, Hawaii denying legal immigrants the ability to apply for carry permits. And the wrap back lawsuit, the Hawaii Firearms Coalition versus the FBI. The FBI failed to respond to a Freedom of Information request for information regarding Hawaii's use of the wrap back service. Young versus Hawaii, they filed an amicus brief to demonstrate Hawaii's need for permits to be issued. Tedder versus Connors, supporting the legal fight to overturn Hawaii's unconditional ban on the possession of butterfly knives. I have a butterfly bottle opener, a butterfly knife, because that will be illegal in this state for some reason. You know, they also banned switchblades, which I'm just not a switchblade believer. I'd never risk my bet my life on that a switchblade not breaking. If it was stuck into somebody's bone, the device would just fail, and the blade could go flying out in God knows what direction, and then you just be stuck with a handle and no blade, and against somebody who is very angry at you, which is not a good thing. Let's see, the Rat Pack lawsuit basically charges that the Rat Pack law violates the FBI's policy regarding the Rat Pack service, violates federal firearm laws, specifically the 1986 Firearm Owners Protection Act, and infringes on the constitutional rights of the firearm owners, and the FBI is denying the state's use of the Rat Pack service due to these attempted violations. And they didn't respond to the FOIA request within the 20 days that they're required to respond. So they're just trying to figure out what the hell is going on, because it appears that they got a tip that nobody has ever been run on the Rat Packs. What did it say here? Let me read through this real quick. It has been brought to the Hawaii Farms Coalition's attention during this year's legislative session that not one single firearms owner has been entered into the service. However, for more than 2 years, the state has been requiring firearm owners to sign a waiver of their constitutional rights and collect the fee associated with the FBI Rat Pack service. So you can't buy a gun in this state of Hawaii without paying this fee and signing that waiver. But in spite of collecting your money and signing the waiver, nobody's been actually entered into the Rat Pack service. They're just collecting money. So it's like a poll tax, which is illegal. They can't charge you a tax to exercise your constitutional right to vote or any other constitutional right, including the Second Amendment. But that's what they're doing. And they're not even running I mean, it's great because it's who wants to be put in a continuous NICS check, never-ending NICS check until the end of time. I mean, I wasn't going to do that, nor was I going to pay them $42, so I just didn't bother to buy any more guns after they passed the law, which was the intended effect of this basically illegal law and practice. But in Hawaii, it's like, if they don't know what else to do during legislative session, they'll pass a new gun control law. Either that or they'll ban plastic straws or something like that, or suntan lotion. Yes, they have banned suntan lotion in Hawaii. So stupid. All right. I don't know what else to say about how stupid the legislators of this state are. I think I'll put up some pictures of the Abraham Lincoln. Oh, here's a nice one. Let's see what that one looks like. Clicked on it. There we go. Well, so I don't seem to be able to get Swift to talk for some reason. I don't know if he's got a problem with his computer or what the deal is, or maybe his dog Sig is jumping up and down on the computer or something. Sig grabbed a one of the handguns and ran off into the darkness, and he's chasing it down the street or something. I don't know. So, okay, I'll talk about Iran. I guess people think that on the mainstream media are like all freaking out because they Trump sends the Abraham Lincoln into the Persian Gulf or Persian Gulf area, probably in the Indian Ocean. And they think, oh, he's going to start a war. Now, if you send in a carrier task force, you're likely to just scare the shit out of anybody who might have hostile intentions. They're just not going to want to mess with a U.S. strike force, carrier strike force. So it's like when China was doing the practice invasions of Taiwan, or so-called mock invasion drills, and President Clinton sent in the 7th Fleet into the Straits of Taiwan. China was not very happy, and one of their generals threatened to nuke Los Angeles, which is why I better move to Hawaii. When I was living there, it was like, because nobody ever threatens to nuke Hawaii. There's nothing on the Big Island, but they were not happy. But whatever they were thinking, if they were thinking about invading Taiwan and just taking it back, which is what their propaganda has been saying they should do for forever. Whatever they were thinking of, there's no way they were going to try and send troops across the Taiwan Straits with a U.S. carrier task force sitting offshore. Would have been suicide. So it's just, they may have huffed and puffed and grumbled a lot. They may have even done more than that, but they sure as hell didn't try and send troops across the Taiwan Straits. Troop transports are just too tempting of a target for anybody with a harpoon missile or a torpedo. So it's just, in my experience, sending in a carrier task force just calms things down. It doesn't ramp up the tensions. I mean, you may be willing to talk shit to a politician, but if you're flying in the air and you've got an F-22 or an F-18 saying, okay, do you want to engage? Nobody's going to want to do that. So I would think that hopefully having a carrier task force in the area will just calm everyone down. They'll take some reds or smoke some hashish or do whatever they do in Iran and calm down and stop using their proxies to cause problems. And I know their economy is just in a world of shit right now because of the sanctions that Trump has on Iran. I think the last headline out of Iran on a business channel was Iran's economy collapses. You know, the C word, the collapse word. Basically nobody can buy oil from Iran and expect to do business on the U.S. banking system. And since the U.S. dollar is a world reserve currency, the Treasury Department can enforce that. So that's just how things are. I think they also said they sent a bomber group, I guess off of like Diego Garcia or something, that area. I mean, the U.S. can fly bombers to anywhere in the world out of the bases on continental United States. They don't have to be forward deployed, but this is a fast, shorter flight time if they are. So I don't foresee any war breaking out. I mean, of course, if you're in Israel, you just got 600 Iranian Hamas rockets fired at you, but that's not exactly. It's more of an annoyance. I mean, if they land on you, it's more than an annoyance, but it's not a mortal existential threat. So if Iran wants to try and block the Hormuz Straits and mess up the world supply of oil to Europe and other countries that consume it, then I think the carrier task group will deal with it. I mean, I know Iran could sink a tanker, cause all kinds of environmental catastrophes, but I'm pretty sure that they don't have the capability to deal with U.S. Navy at all. So there's one for the good guys. Hawaii's kind of a Navy kind of a town, I think, especially Pearl Harbor, Honolulu. So yeah, I don't know why they really have to deploy the bombers to Diego Garcia, unless they're just trying to lean forward and intimidate them more than a carrier task force does. Carrier strike group is pretty intimidating all by itself. I'm trying to remember the base that they fly out of, like the B-2 bombers and the B-1 bombers. But I don't want to name the base wrong. I think it begins with an E. My mind is at 100% for some reason, and all I had today was some oolong tea. So I'm not having my usual alcoholic beverage on Monday night for some reason. But I'll make up for it next week. What's that? All right. Guy of the comments. So what do you use instead of what? I'm not sure what that question was. I think he means instead of a Camelback mule. I mean, there's any number of hydration bladder holder systems that are out there, not just Camelback, or other backpack systems. Since I've never actually had to carry a full load, like 100 pounds on my back. If I did, I'd use a military system, I guess, like an Alice, the frame. But since I've never had to do that, and hopefully I never will, I'm just a regular old civilian. I make do with the like civilian kinds of gear. All right, let's see. I guess I'm gonna probably covered everything I need to, unless there's any questions from the external audience out there. I haven't been able to get Squib to say more than a couple of words this show for some reason, so I don't know what's up. Maybe he'll hang around after the after chat or something. Hopefully he's all right, and there's just who knows, technical gremlins. Oh, for sunscreen, yeah, they banned a lot of most of the common sunscreens because of one of the ingredients is bad for the coral reefs. Would I buy another well, I'm really not buying any guns until this wrap back thing is disposed of, because I'm not going to pay $42 or voluntarily be put on a wrap back list. I mean, if the government wants to do that and pay for it themselves, go ahead, but they're broke. That's been my attitude. Let them come up with the money by themselves. As far as the sunscreens, there's a specific ingredient that is bad for the coral reefs, and that's why they banned it. I forgot what ingredient, but they banned it's like 90% of the sunscreens use this ingredient. I mean, I've seen some sunscreens that are based on zinc oxide that you can use, but basically the ones that are most common, I really don't want to Google it, but because it's some name that it's like gobbledygook chemical name that is bad for the reefs. And I mean, there's been a lot of commercials, and they basically used to have a lot of commercials saying, "Please don't step on the coral." To the tourists who step on the coral, and they did some tests by one of the local tourist beaches where there's some coral and all the tourists go, but they tested the water right at the spot where all the tourists go in. So the tourists go in, put on sunscreen lotion, and go snorkeling right at all in the exact same spot, because there's little few reef fish swimming around. They can go see through the snorkel goggles and whatever. But yeah, right at that point, there's going to be a pretty high concentration of that chemical. But if you swim out like 50 yards, it'll be just like, it won't be that bad. So it's Hawaii is ban happy. They just ban everything. I was watching something really interesting. Something they're not going to ban that's fun. Wow. I don't know if people want to buy sunscreen off of the black market. If there's a black market for sunscreen, people can fly in with their own sunscreen, I guess. But, I was watching this thing on the shark attacks in Hawaii when sharks attack. And so I think what it came down to is after they basically put up a lot of theories on why there would be a spike in shark attacks. And they basically put them up one theory at a time and then shoot them down. But at the end one, the only one that really made sense to me, based on the animals that I know around here, is that the sharks, because of all the increase in spearfishing and kayak fishing, is that the sharks have associated humans with food. And the sharks, there's plenty of videos on YouTube of sharks stealing the fish off of spears, or a fisherman on a kayak catches a fish, the shark will just come and take the fish right off the hook. And there's a case by Kauai Harbor, about 30 miles north of where I live, of a shark. Just basically, the fisherman went out on his kayak fishing, and about a few hours later, there was his kayak was there, but the fisherman wasn't there, and there was just a shark swimming around with a smile on his face. And people were upset. They were like, "Why don't you go out? Why don't the police do something?" It's like, what do you want the police to do? You can go arrest the shark for being a shark. So the sharks have associated humans with food, because instead of having to chase a fish all around, and fish can swim fast, so they aren't always easy to catch if you're a shark. So if there's like an easy meal on a hook or a spear, that's just easier for them, so they'll do that. And that therefore they started to associate humans with food because of all the fishing. So if somebody goes to an ocean where there's a lot of in an area where there's a lot of kayak fishing going on or spearfishing going on, and you go out swimming in the ocean, tiger shark may show up and decide that you're food. I mean, once you enter the water, you enter the food chain. You're part of the food chain now, and the sharks have been there for millions of years before people. And they're apex predator. So you enter their domain, you're just in the food chain. And they're not going to ban spearfishing or kayak fishing, but going for a snorkel in an area where they're doing that is going to draw sharks. I mean, and it's like when I go out to the pool, because I feed the feral cat that hangs out by the pool on Sundays, one day a week. And well, as soon as he sees me, he knows that he's got a pretty good chance of getting food. So sharks are the same exact way. They see a human, they associate it with food because of all the fishing. And spearfishing and kayak fishing. So that's why there's been a spike in shark attacks in Hawaii. That's the only thing that really made sense to me out of all the other reasons. But maybe I just watched too much Shark Week or stuff. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in. Let's see if there's any other questions. Yeah, well, probably in this state they'll give permits to sharks to eat people or something. I don't know. Yeah, tiger sharks pretty much eat anything, and you don't want to. I mean, basically, people are meant to be on land at this point in our evolutionary stage, and the tiger sharks are meant to be in the water. They've been there for a few million years, and if you enter the ocean, I mean, it's fun, but it's the wilderness. It's the law of the jungle, and tiger sharks, hammerheads, white-tip oceanic sharks. There's some other sharks around here, but we occasionally great whites. Not so many of those, a few. But I would think that it's beautiful going snorkeling. There's so many reef fish. It's just fun going snorkeling, but it's a risk. So you just have to be aware of it, and it's dangerous. If you don't respect nature in a place like Hawaii, it'll kill you, and not just sharks. Like the people who went up hiking up on Haleakala, and I guess weren't prepared. At least they had a phone and could call for help, but it's not something you should be prepared before you hazard your life in one way or the other, because life is still worth living, I think, and so. Today we had a lot of great sunshine. I just love puttering around in the sun by the pool today when the sun came back out. Had a few clouds, but it came back out. Pretty nice day. Well, I guess we're gonna have humans on this planet for a while, if you ask me. So, trying to read everybody's. We have chickens on this island. Guide the comments. I'm not sure what you're referring to, though. Let's see. I'm gonna read all the external comments here. Survival of the laziest. Yeah, the sharks are lazy. They don't want to. The sharks are the lazy ones. They don't want to go out and chase the fish when they can just wait for the humans to catch them and then steal the fish. Yeah, no, the sharks are necessary to the ecosystem, and they've been here for millions of years. I'm not sure what 4014 big boy up and running. TransUnion Pacific. You're talking about Hell on Wheels, Jesse? Well, you know, I'll say this about extinction. A lot of things have gone extinct at one time or another. The dinosaurs, they were apex predators. So you would have to, just looking at history, you'd have to say that extinction is part of evolution of the planet. Union Pacific steam engine. Oh, so that's the name of a steam engine train. Okay. I know Squib's into trains, but I haven't seen him talking for this show. He logged on and hasn't been talking, so maybe he fell asleep. What do high-powered air guns have to do with chickens? I'm not sure. Oh, okay, so that's a very big engine. I mean, are they using it? Because I thought all the current modern railroads are like electric powered. Um, well, Ed, that makes us all special because we're not yet extinct. So we've survived. We beat the odds so far as humans. But we'll see how long we can keep that run going. Well, government solutions like that usually don't work, Guy. The comments here in Hawaii, we still have a rodent problem, and big infestation, big rodent blooms. When we get a big heavy rain, it contributes to a large rat bloom, basically. And so, in the early 1900s, the government in charge decided to try and fix the problem by importing mongoose to predate upon the rats. But the government didn't realize is that the mongoose are up and out about during the daytime, and the rats are nocturnal. So instead of one invasive species, we have two now. It's like they didn't know the rats come out at night, not during the daytime, and or just the wrong species deal with it. Well, it didn't solve the rat problem. Let me tell you. We have, especially in the north part of the island, there are huge rat blooms. Basically, you could drive a car and just run over rats. Diesel electric with the Union Pacific bringing new life to a few of the old steam engines. Yeah, the ones I saw when I was driving back through the Mojave Desert from Arizona, they were all electric. You could see the wires. They were all electric train engines, but boy, they were pushing really long. The ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, should be a convenience store, name of a convenience store, not a government agency. Guy in the comments. I really don't care about Australia. I mean, I've met one or two nice YouTubers from there, but as far as what their government does, we have our own problems. Well, what I saw, there was like a wire. There's like a wire that stretches over the train line, and it's just over the track. There's a wire, and the engine has a up hook to the wire, and that's what I saw. But I'm really not an expert on it. I'm sure Squib could explain it a lot better than me. But they were pushing like hundreds of cars. I mean, really long lines of just containers. It's what I saw moving through the Mojave. We drove past 39 Palms. There's just, I mean, it's amazing the amount of stuff that gets moved by a train in this country. People don't realize, I think. But yeah, rail is just a huge part of the transportation hub. But if Squib ever gets back online, maybe he could kind of explain how that, because I know he's more into that stuff than me. Yeah, people in India, I've seen them ride trains, but this is in India. In America, people just jump into the cargo containers. They don't ride on top of them. At least that's what I've seen in the movies. But yeah, it was like there's a wire stretched over the tracks. There's like an uplink from the engine to the wire, and the electric engines are creating the steam, I guess, that drives the locomotive. But I wish Squib would come on and explain this to you, because I can only tell you what I saw driving through the desert. Other than it was really hot and windy in the Mojave Desert. There was a ton of trains pushing a ton of just hundreds and hundreds of cars, container cars. Yeah, I like watching, as far as the New Zealand, I watched some of the National Geographic on wild New Zealand, wild Australia, wild Borneo, stuff like that. The animals, especially the native ones, are amazing in the way they've adapted to their environment. But things change, and sometimes even in Africa, like some primates live on one side of the river and not the other, or they can't cross river because apes can't swim basically for some reason, and so they like never cross the river, so it's just everything about them and the way they live completely adapts. There's one really funny species. I mean, what's funny about of primates? Bonobos. They don't fight to settle their disputes. They don't, unlike a lot of other apes. If primate species, if they invade one group of primates invades the territory of another, then they're going to fight, and the alpha males will fight, and it'll be settled that way. The bonobos, they have a different method. Basically, in order to, instead of fighting, they have sex. Really. So it's like make love, not war. That's the bonobos. That's literally, if one troop of bonobos invades the territory of another, then they all have sex. Literally. I thought that was just hilarious. But hey, maybe the apes are smarter than the humans. So maybe the bonobos will rule the world one day. And so you just that's what I get for watching too much National Geographic, Instead of aircraft carriers, we could just send like floating massage parlors to countries that we have problems with. I don't get it, but yeah, I think I probably need to watch something other than National Geographic. But the news is just so depressing, man. They're always talking about, they're on about Trump's tax returns now, and they're never going to stop talking about the Mueller report and the Russian delusion, or whatever. But it's like I'd rather watch National Geographic or Turner Classic Movies than, or some of my DVDs, or sports. Like there's a couple hockey games tonight I probably would have enjoyed watching. Oh, sports! Who saw the Kentucky Derby? Before I end this one, does anybody have an opinion on disqualifying the horse, Maximum Security, the one that crossed the finish line first? I mean, he was the best horse, but he was a very young horse. He was like less than 2 years old. And so when he came around the final turn and 150,000 people started yelling at him, he was startled, and he shifted lanes by 1 or 2 lanes, and he impeded the other horses. But I mean, horses don't know the rules Okay, if 150,000 people start yelling at him, and he reacts and moves like 2 feet to the right, I mean, the horse doesn't know if he won or lost the race. He waiting for a ruling. The humans will figure that stuff out, settle the betting, but the horse, I enjoy watching the horses run. Before the Kentucky Derby, the race that ran, there was a horse called Brick and Mortar, and he just flat out came from behind, and in the final stretch, he just accelerated past everything. and I mean, he just made the other horses look like they were standing still. And so, but that one, it was having in the Kentucky Derby, the horse disqualified. It's a horse. They don't. There's no rule book for them to read, and it wasn't anything the jockey did. It was a crowd of 150,000 people yelling at a less than 2-year-old animal, and he would have won that race anyway because he was clearly the fastest horse. But it is what it is. I think he's the owner. I think the owner of Maxim Security is pulling him out of the Preakness. So floppers? Do you mean people doing flops to draw fouls? I mean, the horse changed lanes, but I mean, it's a horse. It's not a person. You know, it doesn't know what the rules are. It's a horse. Well, they were both fast, Maximum Security. But I mean, if you saw the race before that with Brick and Mortar was the name of the horse, he just blew. He didn't lead the whole race, but in the final furlong, he just accelerated like you could not believe past everyone. It just made them look like they were standing still almost. They didn't have it. He just had acceleration beyond belief. But it's just hard to penalize a horse because for a rule violation. It's not like he was given steroids or cheated that way or something, or juiced, but he just got startled and moved to the right about 2 feet when 150,000 people started yelling at him because he never experienced that before. And anyway, I mean, if the jockey did something wrong, I could see penalizing him. But if the horse just startled, you know, it makes sense to me. But I'm glad I don't have to determine these issues. You know, the Second Amendment is so much simpler than horse racing. I'll say that. Wrap it all up. Shall not be infringed. All right, I said it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll try and find out what's up with Squibb, and everybody please add Oklahoma Prepper to your, his first name is Frank, to your prayers for speedy recovery for his medical procedure tomorrow. And everybody, respect the power of nature, be safe, and keep fighting for freedom. God bless you all. God bless America.